Alright, we've come to a fork in the road. Cliff Palace tour to the right, water to the left. We already have our water, so we're gonna go this way. And here, I believe, is where we're gonna meet our guide. Bring water, no food or other drinks in the cliff dwelling, no pets, no smoking. So if Sue and Skip Smith came here, I think Sue would have to leave Skip out here in the waiting area, as it says, no pets. So I'm assuming this is where we wait for the tour guide. Yep, the tour meets here. So we'll wait for the tour guide to show up and go down and look. I might be able to get a view of the Cliff Palace just up ahead. We'll see. What a wonderful opportunity this is to come here and share this with you. Alright, we'll wait for the tour guide.
Film this entire thing?
No, I'm not going to film the entire thing, but I'm going to film some of it.
Please sit down if you'd like.
Here is our ranger.
So, my name is Mark Reamer, Ranger Mark, and you are here for an amazing 5:30 tour of Cliff Palace. The best thing about it is I think we've got about, what, 14 people here? Our normal tour size is 55.
Oh, wow.
So I'm going to go totally off script, and we're going to just really have a good time. I'm going to give you guys amazing, ample photo opportunities, because normally it takes us 20 minutes just to get to the first alcove, and I can't get there much before that because there's a group, as you know, in front of us. So we have to stay on time to our first stop, but the last 40 minutes, it's not going to be a free-for-all, but we're going to really have a good time. So let's talk about logistics first. You're going to go down about 90 stairs. The first 20 to 25 of them are metal, handholds on both sides. And then you're going to go down a series of sandstone stairs, and made by the CCC, the Civilian Conservation Corps, back in the 1930s. Those steps are going to range from about 8 to 10 inches in height, and some of them are going to be closer to probably 18 to 20 inches in height. So, you know, you just must be able to negotiate those. The kids can't be carried; they have to be able to walk by themselves. As we go down the sandstone steps, there's usually a rail on one side and the side of the cliff on the other side, so it's okay to touch that. It's not a problem there. Food-wise, we can't have any food. I hope you all brought water. Water is incredibly important. I can assure you, once we get down to the bottom, it is hot down there. I was down there for the 4 o'clock tour, and I had people leaving early because it was so warm. It's going to be 20 degrees warmer down there than it is here right now, minimum. So no food, and for the obvious reasons, if you happen to drop anything, the chipmunks, the squirrels, the rabbits, they move in and make house, and that damages the drone. So we just can't have any food at all. If you happen to be a diabetic or something like that, or if you need to have a little food, just kind of let me know, and just be very, very careful with it. Okay, I mentioned water, I mentioned food, I mentioned the stairs. There's going to be 4 ladders. All of them go up. The tallest one is maybe 12 foot. So if you went to Balcony House, this is nothing. Okay, this is a very, very easy climb. They're all secured. Let's see, what else am I missing? And he's getting down video. I love this. Oh, so you are going to be entering a place of worship and great importance to the ancestral Puebloans. Okay, they lived here roughly 750, 800 years. They came from originally in the probably about 13 to 20,000 years ago. They crossed the Bering Strait, came into what is now Alaska, British Columbia, and then North America or the continental United States as we know it. For the most part during that time, they were wanderers, they were gatherers, okay, they were hunters. They were not stable. They were moving from place to place to place. Okay. Once they arrived in this region, first off down in the Montezuma Valley, okay, corn had made its way up from Mexico, and they became farmers. So they were able to start stabilizing themselves. So from what we know, they lived down in the valleys roughly 1,000 years, and then for some reason somebody chose to come up here. We'll talk about that more when we get down to the bottom. But they sustained life here for 750, 800 years. And here's one of the things that I think is most valuable at this point. And one of our indigenous rangers who I sat with the other night, and we were talking, and he said one of the sayings that he uses is, we came from the earth, we lived and cared for the earth, we returned to the earth. Now, if you think about that, that's pretty cool. And for 750 to 800 years, the earth sustained them right here. Okay, with very, very little technology, 18 inches of rain a year. Just truly amazing. The other thing that's most important as we go down in is we cannot touch anything with our hands or any parts of our body. The walls, you cannot step into any of the rooms. And the reason being that everything that you have on your hands, your food, your lotion, your kids' sweat, your own sweat, if you touch the stones, okay, you touch any of that, you're going to leave a film on there. And you will see when we get down to the Kiva stop what the film does to the sandstone. It just absorbs it, just pulls it right in. So, other than that, are there any questions at this point in time? So, again, this is not their current home. Yes, sir.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yeah.
The inhabitants of this area, did they just suddenly disappear out of? They inhabited the area for how long, and they just vanished, or they?
Well, another thing that my friend has told me is it's okay not to know. We do not know a lot about the ancestral Puebloans in terms of only things that the archaeologists have been able to figure out, and also what the 21 existing Puebloan tribes in Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas, and the 5 Native American groups that are also associated with Mesa Verde have chosen to tell us. And they have not told us everything. So, as he says, it's okay not to know. And so we don't know everything. They may not know it all themselves, but there's many secrets they've chosen not to tell us. Okay?
Thank you.
Any other questions at this point in time?
Let's start the tour. Okay, we're following our tour guide down to the first stop here, and it's going to be an interesting tour for sure. Look at this, and I'm not going to be able to record the entire tour, but I'll try to give you some of the highlights as we walk along into this historic National Park here in Mesa Verde.
At the bottom part.
All right, here we go. So I was told to go down. I'm gonna get down to
It's a pretty squishy spot, Mama.
a ladder, and he said, "Don't go up."
That's what it said. Okay, now this is kind of hard.
Look at this.
It's really steep.
Just like you were here yourself, isn't it?
Before you die.
Very nice.
Keep on. You know, a good idea is you walk on this side.
Somewhere we're gonna get down here to a ladder.
Look, there is literally black moss. White moss. Black. No,
Look at these steps. Oh,
I don't think I can go on this.
trying my best to walk and talk. But it is a bit of a challenge. These stairs. All right.
Cracked. Cracked again.
Way down. All right. We're still going down some more. I'm going to step aside for a moment.
Okay.
Go ahead. Look at this.
You guys, slow down.
Here comes the
Can we go now?
group.
Wait for me.
Well, I saw it across. I didn't see that close.
Very nice.
Didn't you go into the main? We went into the main
Oh,
museum.
oh yeah, to the museum, but I didn't get to see anything.
Okay. Very nice. All right. Having found our way down the series of steps on a rather nice path, taking us to the Cliff Palace. What a wonderful, wonderful day this is. And we found our way to the stairs.
Oh, I can't sit. Oh, just sit on the floor. I can't sit.
All right, I stayed behind just for a moment to give you this shot before going up the stairs here myself, or the ladder, I should say. So let's go climb the ladder. Really nice. Should give a shout out to Sue Smith of the Villages, who I hope follows in my footsteps literally and is able to make it here to the Cliff Palace.
Come on in. You guys all should come in here. You can sit on these rocks.
Look at this.
You just can't sit on the sandstone, the actual mortar rocks. Those are original stones. No, that was no, that was actually part of drainage. I take that back. That was drainage. Yeah, they added that. See, because this is new here. You can see Portland cement right there.
Oh yeah, they've been restoring it.
Yeah. You guys, everyone have a seat. Take, spread out, have a seat. You can sit on this, you can sit on these sandstones here. Just please enjoy yourself. So, what we cannot touch are anything like these right here, any of these walls throughout the entire site. But the sandstone itself, the boulders are fine. So, did you guys all have an aha moment when you first came in here? Yeah, that I do every time because this is so spectacular. As I said, we're going to go totally off the beaten track. You're not going to hear a normal tour that we give for 50 people. But I do want to start with something I think is very cool. And I want you to think about the journey that brought you here today. And I'd like you to think about where that journey led from. Okay, I'm 63 years old. I was born in California. I have progressed over the last 63 years from Southern California to Northern California. Okay, I'm waiting for the Northern California, Southern California split. We're only going to 2 states. But, my journey went from growing up in Pasadena to going to school in San Luis Obispo, Cal Poly, then following my wife for her job to the Bay Area, and then over to the Sacramento region, which we spent the last 30 years and raised all 3 of our sons. So this is my first season at Mesa Verde. I've been here about 6 weeks. So it's been a wonderful learning experience for me. So the ancestral Puebloans, as I said, they arrived on the mesa top somewhere around 550 CE, which is Common Era, also AD. Anybody have any ideas why they may have come up here?
Shelter?
Possibly, but they didn't occupy these to the last 80 to 100 years. They were up here 750 years.
Before they did this.
Before they did this. So, what brought them here? Well, my theory is somebody decided one day to take a little journey, and they came up to the mesa top. But this is not a mesa. And do you by chance know what it is, since you're from Mancos?
Mesa?
This is not a mesa. It's actually something else. I'm sure archaeologist knows. Oh, I fooled you. Okay, if I tell you it slopes about 7 degrees to the south, it's actually called a cuesta. Cuesta in Spanish is slope. Okay, what does a 7-degree slope to the south allow for?
Drainage.
Drainage, what else?
The
No,
sun.
eh?
More sun.
More sun. More sun. So their growing season here, somewhere 15 to 20 days, maybe a little bit more, than down in the Montezuma Valley. So they were able to farm longer up here. They also found tremendous growing medium. Okay, for millions of years, soils blew from the southwest. The junipers, the pinyon pines, the sage, all the different plants grabbed that soil and deposited it right on top of the sandstone. And all of a sudden we have a 3 to 5 foot growing medium that is absolutely fantastic for growing crops. Okay, as I said up above, corn, squash, and beans had been brought here previously, or brought to this region. And so they were farmers. So again, my theory is somebody came up here, looked at and said, you know what, everything's growing up here so well. It's not growing yet down in the valley. Not the crops, but just general plants. It's like, let's go take a look. Let's go on a little journey. And so they continue their journey up here. Okay, they come over the Bering Strait, probably, I'm guessing, in the neighborhood of about 13 to 20,000 years ago, into what is now Alaska, what is now Canada, British Columbia, spreading out to the Midwest and to the east. They just didn't stop coming straight down. They spread out all different directions. And then they came down into what we now call continental United States. Okay? They were wanderers, they were gatherers, they were hunters. Okay. Then they arrived here and they became farmers. Okay? They somehow figured for 750 years to live off the earth. And as I say, we came from the earth, we care. We came from the earth, we care and live with the earth, we return to the earth. So they made it work for 750 years. Farming on top for most of the 650 years, coming down here, but still farming on top. There's a chance they might have found some small areas down below that they were able to terrace and farm in, but most of it was still going on up top. So, any questions?
So there's fields up there where there's trees now. They would have started to chop it down, or found fields, work.
Well, they had to build their homes up top.
Yeah.
So they were cutting the trees down up top. They were using them for fire, to cook. They were using them to build their homes. And we will talk about the dendrochronology as we get down into the site a little bit more. So, any other questions? Okay. Well, let's stay in the shade, but I want to go down a little bit deeper into
There's
the
no
site.
homes like
Boy, it really is a challenge not to want to share all of this with you. And, you know, YouTube being what it is, you can watch as much or as little of this as you want. But it really is nice.
You don't use it. So,
Yeah. We came from the earth, we took care of the earth, we return to the earth. Look at that.
Why would you climb up there?
Beautiful.
To put grains up there. To keep it. If somebody plundered
Look at this view.
your village, you would lose. What I would do, right? But they would haul it out. Here, hide it. This is like hidden.
Right?
You're in jail. What do you think about that, Mom? Would that work at times? No, it was
Wonderful.
It's almost like they were hiding their food from somebody plundering them. You know what I mean?
Well,
that would happen.
probably in the neighborhood of 35, 40, give or take 5, were actually occupied. Most of the alcove sites were storage units. Why were they storage units? Well, we had 3 major droughts in this region between the 1000s and 1300s. We're talking 25, 30, 35, 40-year droughts, okay? Very, very little rain. Kind of what's been going on here in the Mancos region for the last 5, 6 years, right? Until this year. So, you have a good crop year, you grow, you grow, you grow, you store. Corn can be stored for many, many years if it's stored properly, okay? As I was telling to these 2 young men right here, the areas that you see at the very, very top were very, very likely storage rooms, okay? Out of the 150 rooms that are here, again, maybe 35 or so were actually occupied by people as living spaces. Most of them were storerooms. And there's 21 kivas in the site. We'll talk about kivas in a little bit, but there were 21 kivas in the site, and there's actually signs that there might have been 2 more kivas, for a total of 23. The archaeologists aren't totally sure, but there are some similarities that are making them think that they actually were kivas. So, let's talk about the walls. Any builders here? Any architects here? You like to build. So, I see 2 very distinct types of construction. I see the meticulous builder. If you look at that wall, it's right there in front of us. Look how beautifully straight that is. Okay, that is an original wall. Okay, that wall has not been repaired or restored at all. The bottom part of it, which you can see is a little bit different color, that is the plaster that they used to cover it, so they cover up the seams. So, but look at that builder, so very meticulous. Really did a great job, cared about his quality of work. Now, you have the mark type of construction right here, which is,
Get it done.
this rock fits, let's make it happen, okay? They also used, and you can see it, you can't see it so much in this wall, but they used little small stones, they're called cheeking stones. And we'll see some when we, here they are right up here. You can see these little small stones. They would jam those stones in between in the mortar to help provide more strength, okay? Now, I know we have an archaeologist with us. One of the things about sandstone is, what can you tell you about sandstone and water?
It absorbs it.
It's extremely porous, you bet. So, when they built these, you had the sandstone blocks, you had the mortar. The mortar was made out of 3 items. Any idea what those were?
Sand, water, and clay.
Sand, water, and we need a binder. Straw could work,
Where'd you get that?
but there was something else that was even better. Corn husk was probably work, but there was something even better. Ash from their fires.
Did it have
It's a
that much of
great
it?
binder.
Huh.
Well, keep in mind, during the winter, you've got fires going all the time. You're creating a lot of ash. So those 3 items created the mortar. So you've got stone, then you've got this mortar, which again is a sandstone base. And so what does water do? It wonderfully flows through. So it allows water to drain. So what do we do in repair? Sometimes we use good old Portland cement. And Portland cement doesn't work well. You put Portland cement, it'll trap the water in the sandstone up above, and it'll cause it to degrade. So the archaeologists are always working very hard to minimize any kind of use. You'll see when we go past one of these kivas, they've got little round discs they're trying different types of mixture for mortar repair. Any questions?
So in 2020, we still can't put the mortar on like they did and make it work pretty good. That's what I got out of. That's what I'm getting out of that.
They're truly amazing. Some other things and features that I think are very cool at this point is if you look far over to my right and over to your left, you see how the sandstone has been discolored there. It's a fireplace. What might that tell archaeologists?
A gathering place where they cook meals, maybe.
Maybe a room too. I don't know if that's a kiva up there or not, but that was probably a room. Keep in mind, many of these rooms are not at their original height. Okay, they went up higher. Okay, you can't see it so much here, but in balcony house and longhouse, you can see what they call ghost walls, which is telling the archaeologists and the geologists. If you look at the sandstone, and you can see where a wall needs to be, because you have a perfect square of stone.
Boy, folks, don't miss this stop when you're coming across America. What a wonderful, wonderful place to visit.
Yes. Circles of mortar here, they're testing them to see the different mixture of what works and what doesn't. Okay. So since we've got a few minutes right here, we're doing great for time. Go ahead and feel free to walk up and down this path, take a few pictures. Before we leave, I'm gonna have you all go over here in the sun because I want you to look up in a window. Okay, I am not going to tell you what's in that window, but I want everyone to have an opportunity to look in. So this is a kiva. Anybody have any ideas what a kiva is or was? And the reason I say is because the modern day Puebloans and many of the American Indian tribes still have kivas. They might be slightly different than these, but they still have them today. What do you think it was used for?
I think it was used for ceremonies.
Ceremonies? I agree. What else?
Bedroom?
Bedroom? Think about the winter
I
time.
know, that's where I'd want to be when it was 30 below zero.
Let's think about the winter time. So, kivas had tops. And I'm going to hand around these photos. They're all exactly the same photo. Take a look in the front and back. This is Square Tower House. Square Tower House is a structure or is a dwelling here in Mesa Verde. And what you see there is a partial original roof. Okay? Every one of the 21 kivas in here at one time had a roof on it. Now how does a kiva work? Well, the mechanics of a kiva are pretty ingenious. Now keep in mind of the time frame we're talking about. If you look at the very bottom, you have a fire pit. Okay? Behind the fire pit, we have what's called a deflector. Why do we need a deflector? Well, we need a deflector because this opening right here normally does not have dirt in it. It's open to a vent down on that side, on this side. Okay. You have a fire in the fire pit. You have a cover on this, and in the middle of the roof, you have an opening about this big. Okay. That was the ingress and egress for the kiva. There was a ladder that angled down. That's how you came in and out. So during the winter time, you'd have a fire going in there all day long, all the time, 24 hours a day. What would end up happening, so you think about it, what's hot air going to do? So what's it going to do? It's going to suck in the cool air to keep the fire going through the vent, hits the deflector, it goes around like this, the hot air goes up, that fire keeps burning. Okay, and you're absolutely right. It's 20 degrees out here. You're below ground. You've got a roof. You've got a fire.
That would be thermal. That would all be 70 degrees or something or whatever.
That's where I hang out in the wintertime. Now in the summertime, Opposite theory exists possibly, right? You don't have a fire going. If you've ever been into a cave, it could be 90 degrees outside, probably about 57 inside the cave. Probably cooler here than it is on top of that very, very sun-drenched kiva, perfectly south right there. So imagine the heat that you get here. Okay. So as we work our way up the kiva, the next thing that you'll see are the lower, we call them benches, the lower platforms, and then on top of those are the pylons, flat, other platforms were. These play with Lincoln logs. You play with Lincoln logs? So, if you think you run one piece of wonderful pinyon pine from the middle of one pilaster to the middle of the next one, then another one from that one to this one to this one, this one to this one, and you've created a six-sided figure, right? All right. From there, you now put another layer of pinyon pine on top of it. But the first two look like this. The third one crosses the first two. So you're building a roof structure. You build up to the height you want. Then you take more pinyon pine, juniper, you lay it across. And just like we did with the rooms, we can take the bark from the juniper, we can take yucca fiber, extremely strong, and we take our mortar and we create the roof that you see in these pictures. And on 5 o'clock, it's now 6:19, it's already past happy hour. You sit up here and you have a social time, right? Okay. The kivas, as you said, they're very ceremonial, they're religious, okay? 21 kivas, 80 to 120 people lived here. Doesn't make sense. The numbers don't work out. The belief of the archaeologists is this was a very much social gathering place for other clans that lived up and down, not only the canyons, but the people who chose not to move, and they still lived up on top. Not everybody came down. Many people stayed up. But every day they had to go up to farm, come back down. Go up to farm, come back down. Any questions?
Anybody doing numbers like how many people would you get in there? How many people could sleep in there? Would
Well,
they hold up like in the wintertime with like 25 or 30 people in there?
Well, there's 21 of them here. The general theory that I hear is about one kiva for every 10 to 15 people living in the structure. But this was unique because they don't believe there's 21 kivas. If you do the math, that means there's 210 to 300 plus people living here.
No.
We don't believe that was
They were
right.
just coming down
That's why we
maybe in the
feel that
winter.
this was a ceremonial place.
Yeah.
And so generally, you know, wintertime, normally your typical room is 6 by 8. So you have mom, dad, a couple kids hanging out in a 6 by 8 room. You might bring your uncles and your aunts in here. Stay warmer during the wintertime.
Did they have flat screen TVs back in those days?
Just like they have video cameras now, they had it all. Yes.
How did the farmers go up to farm up there?
How did the farmers go up to farm up there?
Yeah.
Well, the one thing we know for sure, and when we leave, you're going to see some handholds, and I'll point them out to you. But just before you get to the first ladder on the way out, if you look up on the rock on the right, you're going to see some depressions. One of them looks like knuckles. They absolutely climbed up. So like when you were young and you crawled, guess what they did? They crawled, but they climbed. Okay. So you learned how to run on a flat surface. They didn't have a flat surface. You just stay back, but you stay off this. You stay off this. There you go. Okay. They had to learn to climb because as soon as they were your age, guess what they were doing? They were working.
Yeah, packing corn in here.
Okay. Everybody helped. Okay. So what I would like to do now is I'm going to lead the group over here. There is a doorway about like this. You'll see what people's hands have done to that doorway over the years. Okay. I want you to peek in there. It's okay to touch it. Peek in there and look up to the far right. Have your camera with you. Okay, I'll take this. Okay, I'll lead you over. Okay. Guys, walk around that way, please. Okay, don't step on this. Walk around.
All right, so we're wrapping up the tour here. And he's going to take us up to a window. just up ahead.
Okay, let's go on over. The archaeologists have stabilized this wall over here. You'll see how this one wall on this cave is wanting to collapse. Don't tell anybody what you see. It's okay to touch the walls. Way up. Did you see it?
I don't know if the camera will
Did you look way
capture
up to the
this.
right? What do you see? Did they paint up there? Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Come on now, don't tell anybody, okay?
Let's see if the camera can capture this.
Just wait right over there, please, okay?
Way up to the right.
So right behind you folks there looks to me to be a storage room.
Oh,
There's
there's
possibly an upper level storage room right there next to it.
a little painting up there.
You will also be able to see some of the vigas here, the cross members. There's a few left, or the latillas, excuse me. You see it? Don't tell anybody, that's our secret, okay?
There's the LTC. And of all the beautiful sights I've seen on this trip so far, that is definitely the most beautiful.
This would have been all the way down into North America as we know it, not just Mesa Verde. And now they've continued their journey, and their spirits are still here. So it's just an amazing time. So with that, I think we are pretty much wrapped up. I did want to talk about that painting a little bit. It's my belief, this is just personally Mark, that was probably something they did in good times. Maybe they had a great harvest that year, and they said, hey, we have time to do some wonderful artwork. I don't know, it's my personal theory. So with that, we're going to be exiting out where it says exit. Again, please be careful going up the steps. I would suggest if you have water, take a drink of water. Look for the handholds just before the first ladder on the right side. And on behalf of Mesa Verde National Park and myself, again, my name is Ranger Mark. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope you had a good time.
Thank you, Ranger Mark.